Good afternoon and welcome into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show starting on Facebook Live. We'll be joining the radio audience on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox here in very short order as we get ready for the game until the game.
And then the next game.
Hopefully those two games lead to the game. And then hopefully that game leads to the game, which leads to the true game.
Would it be the game?
That would be the game at the end of the day.
Done.
But we will get to all of that in just a moment. Phillies will be coming up here at 5 o'clock. Game 3 of the National League Championship Series. And again, Penn State, Ohio State, noon on Saturday on Fox as we welcome in the radio audience here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. Again, it's the Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube in State College. Our thanks to Lion Country Kia. Our thanks to Sioka Motors. Our thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube. And our thanks to the Penn State Golf Courses for being sponsors of the program. Quaker Steak and Lube are home for the Goon and Ironhead show here on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. You can stop on in, enjoy a great meal, watch the show while we do it. They also have, of course, all of the TVs. You can keep track of all of the sports action. And, man, is there a lot of sports action here in the month of October. We've got the NHL underway. We've got college football, NFL. I guess the championship series are continuing in baseball or something, and lots of other action that you can follow here at Quaker Steak and Lube. If you're looking for a place to watch the Nittany Lions, the Buckeyes on Saturday, might I suggest a little trip here to Quaker Steak and Lube. Great food, great beverages, great service, and just a wonderful place to come on down and watch all of the sports to your heart's content. And dear Goon, the closer we get,
college, what do you think?
What's that?
Best wings in State College?
I would say yes, just because of the variety. Yeah,
there's something for everybody.
There really is. Just a lot of delicious sauces, and even though Arizona Ranch will remain my all-time favorite, there are days. I mean, the wing buffet on Tuesdays is just phenomenal because, of course, I have to get the Arizona Ranch in there, but you can throw on a couple of Louisiana liquors, get the garlic parm, which is surprisingly to me become one of my favorites. I just didn't think I'd like garlic parm on wings. Like, I like garlic parm. I don't know why. I had it in my mind that it's like, well, yeah, it's not a wing sauce though. Well, yeah, it is.
I had a new one last week.
Yeah, what'd you have?
Mango habanero rub.
Oh, that is very, very good as well.
Very, very, very legit.
So, again, our thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube. We encourage you to come on down. We've got Penn State, Ohio State on Saturday. Dear Goon, the closer we get, and it ought to make you uncomfortable if you're a Penn State fan, but the more confident I'm getting, and I'm calling this the old Ironhead ironclad guarantee. I really do. I like everything about the way this game is shaping up for Penn State. I like the fact that this team the schedule has played out the way it has. I like the fact that Penn State is as healthy as it is. I mean, outside of left guard, Goon, I mean, this team is basically healthy, ready, raring to go. And listen, I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I do think Ohio State is good. I keep talking to different people. When I say that I don't think this is one of their best teams, I mean, it's like, saying the Penn State wrestling this isn't one of their all-time great teams, which, by the way, this year you can't say that. This year's Penn State wrestling team has a chance if it stays healthy. This has a chance to go down to as one of the all-time best. But because Ohio State, because I don't think this is one of the great Ohio State teams, doesn't mean I don't think that this is not a very good Ohio State team. It's not that I think that they have dropped off significantly. I think they've slipped just a tiny little bit, and I do think Penn State is just poised to have one of those days.
Yeah, we've gone head-to-head recruit with them the last 4 years, really have, and we've won more than our fair share.
Yeah, I don't know more than
more
Ohio
State. 10 years
State.
Ago.
Yeah, but Ohio State still consistently wins the recruiting rankings over Penn State, but it's always close. And I was talking with Jim Galani the other day, and I really think I understand why fans and everybody gets caught up in the rankings, but when for recruiting and you want to get all the 5-star kids and all of that, at the end of the day, Goon, and this is getting a Marvin Harrison obviously is a big deal. That is an elite recruit. A Drew Aller is an elite recruit. Like, these are guys that you're expecting to be complete difference makers. And, certainly Harrison has been at Ohio State. Aller, I guess to some extent the jury is out, but you know that you've got a superstar here in Drew Aller at Penn State. But where, if you're getting the 33rd ranked offensive tackle instead of the 22nd ranked offensive tackle, if you're getting the 25th linebacker versus the 10th, I don't know at the end of the day that there's much there once you get to college. And again, you got to see how they develop it and all of that. So Ohio State is consistently, I think every year they've been in the top 5 nationally recruiting classes. And I don't know that Penn State's had one in the top 5, but Penn State's have all been in the top 20. And again, it's how it comes together. It's, are you getting the right guy at the right time in the right spot? All of those things that factor in. And I think talent-wise, despite what the recruiting rankings would tell you, I think Penn State is certainly even. It feels like to me overall head-to-head. And I think, again, at some of the key spots this year, Goon, I actually think Penn State has the advantage.
I completely agree also. I mean, I think that they've done well in the recruiting in over the last 4 or 5 years versus 10, 12 years ago. And that was that's on James. I mean, James is he's a recruiter, so it just took some time for them to get their legs about them, and now this is going to start paying off for us. I could just tell you, I know the players' mindset. And the players' mindset is a great business trip, a great opportunity for them to go out there. They're not scared. They're ready to go. They are chomping at the bit, actually, to get to this game. As I am, as you are, as we all are. I mean, this is the game. I mean, think about it. We had 6-0 right now? 7 weeks we've been waiting for this game. Not really playing that great of a schedule, so all geared towards this game. So cannot wait to get out there to see these guys, to see this game being played. And both teams are very, very equal. I mean, like I said, I've been saying we are built to compete with Ohio State. This is why we have much closer games with Ohio State than Michigan has with Ohio State, So I'm okay with our matchups. The only one I'm worried about, and, I'm going to abbreviate it today, so I do want to say that our right tackle, Caden Wallace, is going to have his hands full with TJ, the guy who destroyed the game 2 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, so he's back. We know that. They're not going to put that kid anywhere close to Ole Fashano. Why would they? I talked about how, they're not going to drop into an 8-man front because they're too proud. I get that. I understand that. But your best pass rusher, you want to put him against the least of the offensive tackles, and they're going to have him over Caden. And I'm not saying Caden's not going to buck up. Him and Drew Shelton, they both got to buck up and play because the kid could play. He destroyed them 2 years ago. Owned the game, won the game for Ohio State in essence. So
yes,
they better be ready to do that. So I was just talking to somebody, and I'm like, we just line up in a tight end right 90% of the time because they're not going to put him near Olu. So he's going to be on the defensive left side. So put a tight end out there, chip him around, get a little fullback, get a little H-back hitting them. Let him get hit around a little bit. Chip him around. Those guys don't like that. So that is the biggest matchup of the game, in my opinion. We can go to the outside and say our defensive backs versus their wide receivers because that is a hell of a matchup. That's our strength versus their strength.
Yeah.
Okay? Our D-line is our strength. Their offensive line is not as good as it's always been. So I think that the offense. I mean, you're not going to believe this, Jeff. It's going to come down to the offensive line play.
What? I know. I can't believe you would think such a thing.
I just can't believe I would think that.
Yeah,
hell of a game coming. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, the games within the games are always fascinating to me, and those matchups that you're talking about are so important and so big. And the thing about some of those is like if Caden Wallace could have a great game on 9 out of every 10 plays, and if that 10th play is a sack 6 times, well then that's a disastrous game at the end of the day, right? Yep. So I do think it is going to be fascinating to watch what both teams try to do, because I think going in, both teams want to be balanced, but I think both teams want to run the ball. I think both teams go into this where the dream scenario would be, we have the ball, whoever, Penn State or Ohio State talking. We want to have the ball in our dream scenario, 35 to 40 minutes of the game. We want to put together, at least 3 sustained drives that result in points. And if we do that and we take care of the football, obviously everybody wants to, eliminate turnovers and eliminate the big plays in the special teams, which I do think the special teams now has suddenly become a very compelling talking point heading into this game, with Daquan Hardy springing onto the scene against UMass last week.
Held in reserve for a little bit,
I think this is going to be an interesting chess match between the coaching staffs, and I think both these coaching staffs obviously are very good. They know what they're doing. They know what they want to accomplish. And I think both have a great deal of respect for the opponent. Ohio State certainly knows what Penn State is capable of, and obviously Penn State darn well better be aware of what Ohio State's capable of at this stage of James Franklin's career. So, I got into a discussion earlier in the week on which coach has more pressure on them going into this game. And it's kind of funny. While I think both coaches are under pressure, and obviously if James Franklin and Penn State lose, the narrative is going to be, well, James Franklin just can't get over the hump against Ohio State, and he's a fine coach, but not one that can get you to the championship. If Ryan Day loses, right, Ohio State fans are ready to pounce, man. Like they are, because I think I think for whoever loses this game, the Michigan game just takes on a different level of magnitude for that coach and that program. And if for either team or either coach, I think if you lose this one and you turn around and beat Michigan, right, it's going to be a pretty forgiving fan base. And at the end of the day, neither of these coaches are under any pressure in terms of, hey, this season you better produce down the stretch here or you're gone next year, right? Like both these guys are back next year under any circumstance that you can envision. I think a lot of
fan support would go away if James loses this game. That's a lot of people have been saying that he needs to win the big game. Okay, here's a big game. So what if he loses this game and wins Michigan? Do you all come back? But if he loses both, I think there will be a fan support issue.
I think you're right, but I think the same thing with Ryan Day. Like I think both these fan bases are thinking that their teams are capable of going 12-0, but need to go 11-1.
Yep.
Right. I think both fan bases feel that is what should happen this season with these teams. I don't think either fan base gets all that worked up if there is a loss, whether it's this week. And yes, in the case of James Franklin, at least until the Michigan game, yes, the narrative is unquestionably going to be there, and it'll be a pretty disgruntled, to a large degree, disgruntled fan base that will be grumbling about, yep, James Franklin just can't win the quote-unquote big one. But I think if Ohio State loses, again, you got to, from Ohio State's perspective, right? They're 8-1 against Penn State. This is a game that you just win. Ohio State beats Penn State. That's just what you do. You're home. You're the higher ranked team. You're favored by 4 points. I mean, like, I do think from Ohio State's perspective, a loss here, devastating might be a little too strong of a term, but I mean, I think this is a pretty, would be a very unexpected, from their standpoint, unexpected jolt to the Buckeye machine that has steamrolled the Big Ten for the better part of the last decade plus. And from Penn State's perspective, again, it is going to be, well, we just can't get over
that's our next
hump.
step. This is the next step. So are we going to stub our toe? It's a huge game in that regard, because are we to that point where, I mean, what did James say? What, 2000? When did they say we are not elite yet? When did he say that? Because we still have not. He's the one who said we're not elite.
Yeah,
we're not elite until we beat Ohio State and Michigan. And that's the bottom line. And this is the opportunity to do it. It's by far his best chance to do it. I have that feeling. I'm very bullish. I'm very much behind this team. I am 100% on this team, thinking this is the best opportunity we've had to go out to Ohio State and whip them. And I think that we do. I really, truly do. In my mind, I truly think that we have the maturity on the team, the leadership of the team, the coaching staff.
Yeah,
been here for, we have coordinators here for more than 1 year now. We're running the same offense and defense for a couple of years now. Guys are on board. They've all bought in. So it's all setting up. And that would be why I think people would be upset, is because we have all bought in so hard. And then we are waiting, as you have said from the start. I am waiting for this Michigan and Ohio State games. That's before I can decide or say who is this an elite team. That's where we're at.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things that you're, from the Penn State perspective, I think I mean, there's a bunch of things I think you're looking for. I think a couple of key things you're looking for. From a concern standpoint going into this game, Goon, I do think the fact that Penn State has has its 2 worst games of the season were the 2 road games. I do think that is a legitimate concern going into the game. I would have felt a lot better had Penn State responded and just taken care of business right from the get-go against Northwestern. Now, that being said, let's get into this. I don't know if you want to call it a debate a little bit, but do you think, how important is it, do you think that Penn State gets off to a good start? Because while I think you want that, I mean, if Penn State's down 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, and again, I'm just speaking for me, I'm not going to be sitting there with any difference in my confidence level of how this game can turn out. Now, if it gets 17-0, 24-0, okay, yes, there's a point there. But again, I think it's important, but I don't think it's like crucial in this game, partly because Penn State has shown consistently that after those first couple of series, it gets things figured out. Now, obviously, they haven't done against a team the caliber of Ohio State. But again, they did a pretty good job against what I think is a really good Iowa defense and got it figured out after, not a great start.
Did you see these? We're going to get to Penn State, but I have to say, did you see the scenario the other day about Iowa
getting to the national championship?
They're getting to the national title.
Yeah,
because they have a very, very winnable schedule from here on out.
They do indeed.
Although title game, and they could upset Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan, and then they would be. I just thought about it today.
Although, will you be shocked if they lose to Minnesota? I mean, I'm not. I'm
not shocked they're going to lose to Illinois.
Yeah,
somebody like that.
Like I feel like they are going to stumble, and I'm not predicting a Minnesota win necessarily because I'm not sure.
Do me a favor, predict an Iowa win.
Yes,
do that.
I guarantee Iowa's going to win this game.
There we go.
I don't know that
Ironhead, Ironclad.
I don't know that Minnesota is going to be able to score enough points or points, period, against Iowa is the issue. But, I mean, those two teams play a very similar style. And I do think Minnesota's defense is better than what it's shown this season. I mean, I think it's, I guess, the ever dangerous potential. But, I mean, I think that defense was expected to be pretty good this year, and for whatever reason, it hasn't come together to this point. But, I mean, it feels like that game is going to be like a 13-10 slugfest, is at least kind of what I'm thinking it's going to be going in.
It's a punch fest.
But I don't think even though, yes, Iowa's schedule is relatively easy from here on out, I don't think they get through it unscathed. Even though from Penn State's perspective, that's what you would like to see, because if the scenario does play out where you have Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan all with one loss, then it's that win percentage against opponents in the other division is ultimately what's going to determine who goes to the Big Ten championship game.
We've all beaten them all.
What's that?
If it's Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, we all have one loss. We would have beaten all the West Coast teams. The West, Big Ten West. Is it margin of victory? Is it?
No, no. It's the Big Ten East. That they would have all played the Big Ten East, but they've played different teams in the Big Ten West. And if I was 11-1, that win there is going to end up being what would put Penn State in if that scenario plays out. And again, we're a long way from that even being a concern.
Okay, I know we get back to that one question. So I had to say it. I forgot to say it the other day. That West Virginia loss the other night on that fluke Hail Mary.
Yeah.
That's going to come back to hurt us possibly with strength of schedule. It could. It could come down.
I mean, it will hurt the strength of schedule, but it's not going to have any.
Out.
Well, no, it doesn't actually have any impact in terms of the playoff scenario. It has zero impact on Penn State because Penn State's playing Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten. So that, I mean, yes, it's a little ding to the overall strength of schedule, but it has no actual impact on anything.
All right, you're off. I got off that wire.
Yes, of relevance.
So let's go back to this game coming up. I mean, this is a huge game. They've been playing huge games since the 1920s. So it's going to come down to special teams, which I loved what I saw 2 weeks ago out of Hardy. Oh, is that on your prediction?
I think, yes.
On your prediction, there you go. On you predicting Iowa to win the Big Ten. There you go.
No, I think it was on Penn State beating Ohio State.
So it's going to be the special teams, defense, and then turnovers. It's just what every big game comes down to. You got to play well on special teams, but historically, we have always lost these type of games on big plays from defensive touchdowns. I think Ohio State had 9 in like 12 games at one point. Defensive touchdowns. I mean, you can't recover from those things. Punt returns, kick returns, all of that stuff. And the one game we did win over them was a blocked kick. Return for a touchdown. So, I mean, it's going to come down to big plays. I would like to get to the point where it's not going to come down to that. Like you said, if it's 10-0 in the first quarter, I'm not going to be alarmed because our defense will straighten up. I mean, our defense is going to come out strong. Ohio State's not going to score. Hopefully, we get one on the board, take their crowd out of it. The old school, this is how you do it. You shut them down offensively, take their crowd out of it, score a touchdown or two, or just put some points on the board just to shut the crowd up a little bit. And play the game, man, and absolutely play the game. I'm in a weird world. I'm actually sort of happy it's a noon game because then they're not all flithered up as much as they would be for a night game.
No,
I mean, it's going to be a great crowd. They do bring it. Noon games are a little weird. They're a little different.
Yeah. And listen, there's part of me that says, listen, the fact that Penn State has struggled a bit at the start of these early kickoffs this season right? That's a concern. But I just can't imagine that this team is not going to be unbelievably jacked and ready to go. Now, I think Ohio State will be too. I mean, I think both these teams will be ready for the noon kickoff.
The one thing that does scare you is the fact that they have played the Notre Dame game when that was a big game. So this is our first big game.
Yep.
Where they've been in the fire a little bit. So it's not going to be nothing new to them. Do we come out a little shell-shocked? I don't know. A little scared of the light and stuff like that. Who knows? I don't think we will, but there is that possibility. But, the fact that Notre Dame and Ohio State have already played, they had one of those big games. So this is our first one. I mean, we can sit there and say Iowa's big game, but it didn't turn out to be a big game. But maybe it is in the long run. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hell, if they go 11-1, it's going to be, damn, that's a hell of a win then.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
They scored 56 at Minnesota this weekend. They're going to blow it up. Blow it up, baby.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that game
Jeff, I'm scared.
Plays out. I mean, Minnesota has been one of the more disappointing teams, I think, in the conference to this point in the season. But I still look at that team, and I feel like it's still there for them to be good. Now, again, I don't think they're going to compete with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. But I think anybody else in the Big Ten, Minnesota's capable of playing with on a given day, and that includes Iowa. But we'll see. I will say,
Jeff, here's what's going to happen.
I was putting a lot of things together.
Matt Rule comes through for the Nittany Lions and takes out Iowa late in the year.
I could definitely see that.
Penn State, if it doesn't really matter, if we take care of our own. That's the best part about what we're saying. Every scenario we could talk about is greatness and that. This could happen, that could happen. We control everything. We do. We physically control every part. If we want to go to the college football playoff this year, we just got to beat Ohio State, Michigan. Get it done.
Oh, that's all you got to do?
That's all you got to do, baby.
Oh, then just go do that.
And don't trip up against Maryland and Sparty. That's it. Indiana, dead.
Yeah, I just don't think
but we control our own destiny. I mean, that's a great feeling.
And it's funny because normally I would be cautioning about the, yes, you got to take care of business against Ohio State and Michigan, but it's like, man, look out for Maryland, look out for Rutgers, look out. And Rutgers' defense is legit. I think Maryland's offense is pretty legit, but it's still mistake prone. And I think that's where Penn State is going to be able to get some pressure. And I just think over the course of 4 quarters, they're going to force a couple of mistakes there that, even if Maryland plays really well, which they may, I just think Penn State over 4 quarters is going to create some opportunities for itself to be able to cash in and pull that one out. And then Michigan State, I will say I'm curious to see how Michigan State bows up this week. I mean, Michigan obviously is Michigan. It is a rivalry game, and there's a lot there, and I do think Michigan State is rallying to some degree in the program. I won't obviously be surprised if the Spartans get blown out on Saturday. That's kind of what I'm expecting going in, but I'm curious to see
new investigation in
how that one plays out. Yeah, if you did not hear, there is an NCAA investigation underway with Michigan regarding in-person scouting. And I guess what they're alleged to have done, Goon, is have, I don't know if it's coaches or just staff members, go to upcoming opponents' games, and they are stealing the signals. And I want to ask a couple of follow-up questions about this, but from your experiences, but just your initial thoughts on the investigation here into Michigan, again, allegedly stealing signs by against NCAA rules, having somebody go in person and scout these teams in advance.
They're not stealing signs. It's like the Houston Astros thing. What they were doing was stealing signs. Everybody and their mother tries to steal signs. That's what they do in baseball. Okay, but you can't do. They were using the Houston Astros, and they were using technology to get an advantage. Okay, so Michigan. I mean, every high school coach goes to their upcoming opponent in scouts.
Yep.
And you videotape the game, and you can see the coaches, and you're going to do that. It's what you're going to do. You can't do that in college. They do not want any representatives at an opposing site other than to try and steal signs and in-person scout. There was an issue here 20 years ago with some other coaches that we had and some of our former coaches, that one of them accused that he was in the stands as a fan, but he was married to a Penn State alum whose parents were Penn State alums. And it was like, so you're not allowed to come to the game with your family. And he was an alum of Penn State, one of those things, and they tried to make a big thing out of it. Now, I have to ask, do you think it's the NCAA with a bug up their butt after Harbaugh pretty much patronized the hell out of them by his 3-game suspension doing what he did with the coaches?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, that may be. It sounds like, at least with this one story I was reading here, and I'm not even sure. All right, this is a CBS story, but it sounds like the NCAA was alerted by a couple of the opponents. The opponents said that. Now, I don't know exactly how these teams became aware. The teams are saying that the Michigan opponents became aware, as how it's termed in the story, that Michigan was stealing signs. I don't know how it is. I mean, I am curious about that. Did somebody recognize, I mean, how, but it sounds like the NCAA was alerted by a couple of schools that said, hey, Michigan has people here at these games, and they're not supposed to have people here at these games.
What
now, exactly how they knew that,
I don't know.
Lifelong
college football coach, is that another game? I mean, can he not go to games? Being accused of stealing signs type of thing? I don't know. Is it spilled milk because of how Harbaugh treated the NCAA? I don't know. But are they going out there? Everybody and their mother goes out there and steals signs. So they try to do. Now you're going to go, if they were videotaping them during the game, like he's behind the bench and he's videotaping the coaches coming in with it. Yeah, I have an issue with that because then he can sit there and break it down. But if a person's just in person trying to break signs, he could do that on game day Saturday versus the same program.
So here's my question, and I genuinely don't know. I don't know if you know for sure, but because I'm just kind of assuming that teams are changing the signs kind of week to week. It's like, all right, this week's going to be. Is that not
live
the case?
Colors change and stuff like that. So then the verbiage won't change, but the live colors and the live words will change to see. You'll call in 6 different plays, but the one with the live color will be the play. So you could call 6 different plays, and then you know what I mean. It's all crazy.
So how much? I guess my point. So how much of an advantage if you're switching it up week to week, or are you generally not switching it up week to
verbiage? But no, you switch up at halftime if you suspect the opposing team, like, okay, well, they know what that play is right now. They know the live color. Switch the live color.
So how much of an advantage, I guess, is
I'm telling you, it's spilled milk. They just crying over spilled milk, in my opinion. And the NCAA took the bait. But
I mean, if there's a rule against it, then you can't do it. But that's what I'm wondering. Like, if I'm stealing signs, in the National League Championship Series to use it in the World Series, and you're changing the signs in the World Series. Well, at the end of the day,
how are they doing it? Are they using technology, or are they just there in person?
Well, but either way, I'm saying if you're changing the signs, but I'm saying if you're changing the signs, what advantage are you actually getting? If I'm holding up the 2 and it's a curveball this week, but in the World Series it's a 3 as a curveball. Well, if I'm going off of what I videotaped I'm not saying that the rules shouldn't be there, but I'm just trying to ascertain how much of an advantage is actually being gained here by.
I would be
doing
afraid.
This.
There is the story. You ever hear the story of Mike Leach leaving a fake scouting report and a fake play sheet? It's hilarious.
Yes.
So, okay, this happened to me when I was coaching, and we were in a visitor's locker room, and there was the scouting report and the play sheet there, and the calls. And I went to the head coach and said, "What do you want to do with it?" He goes, "Throw it away." He goes, "You'll overthink yourself. Did I make the right call? Did I read this?" And that's all you'll do. You drive yourself crazy. Unless they're using video technology and going in and seeing exactly what they're doing, it's not really that big of a deal. Now, again, they're probably mad that somebody from Michigan is out in an away game, but it's like, so I'm a representative of Penn State, so I couldn't go to Illinois-Michigan game, right? I couldn't go to a Temple-Rutgers game as a representative. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I know I don't represent Penn State. I mean, as a coach, they can't go to games, I guess, but I would like to know who they had going there and what they were doing. Were they just physically trying to do it, or were they using technology to try and steal? But again, I would be more afraid to say, okay, well, you know what? I have it. And then looking at what they're doing and then try to decipher and then making your calls, and they're just all dummy calls and they just blow you up.
Well,
I'd be afraid to use it.
Yeah. And now that teams know this, right? I mean, Michigan State obviously has been notified, and all of the future Michigan opponents now know that this is at least alleged, so that presumably all of the opponents from here on out are going to be changing things up for Michigan week anyway. So I don't know.
You hear about it in the NFL, Jeffrey. You hear exactly what I'm talking. You hear Bryce Young, right? Not Bryce Young. Who's Love? God, who's this 49ers quarterback a couple years ago they drafted? They just traded to the Cowboys. Trey Lance. Yeah. Okay. So they were saying that the Cowboys traded to get him to get all their calls. And then, and then it's not uncommon to grab a guy off a practice squad type of thing, and do this and do that. I could see that where they get into the guys' heads, but if you know that Trey Lance is now with the Dallas Cowboys, you sure as hell are going to change everything up. And it's not like you're not reinventing the wheel by changing your calls. You're just changing your call letters and how it's done, and what's the live color, what's the live number, and then you go from there. It's not that hard. I mean, we ran my Division III school, we ran a wide open spread offense type of thing. Okay, 0 to 49 we're going to be run. So if I say 49, 81, 72. Okay, the first number I call was 41, so it's going to be a run. I'm going to make 9 different calls off of that, and then you know what run it is, and they're going to call a run, and that's the run play. It's not that hard. So then at halftime, if you suspect that they know the play is coming, say it's the third number that's live, and you'll go 41, 82, 40, 47, type of thing. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and it's all stupid, crazy. I don't know if it's spilled milk against Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if the NCAA is, or whoever. I think people don't like Harbaugh. I can't imagine. It's just crazy to me that people don't like him.
Well, I don't think that could be it. I think it's everybody loves and respects him. I think
still want his trunk open, Booch. We got Chris Buchignani coming in after our little break here. But Booch has a great story about Harbaugh. They found 14 dead hookers in his car. Is that the story? Allegedly. Sorry.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
Got to put the word allegedly in there. Folks, you can always head on out to the Penn State golf courses and play a great round of golf. You can hit the links on either their blue or their white championship courses. You can practice your driving skills on the 36-stall driving range or work on your short game on any one of the 4 practice greens. And if you're hungry, check out the new 19th hole, and great refreshments, great food, and very affordable. And don't forget to visit the Walker Clubhouse and browse the great line of golf gear and Penn State merchandise. You can check them out online at PennStateGolfCourses.com or give them a call and reserve your tee time at 814-865-GOLF. That's 814-865-GOLF. We will take a break here. We are back with much more on this Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
You hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Ciocca Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Ciocca Toyota of Williamsport and see the Ciocca dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Ciocca Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Ciocca Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Haw-Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Haw-Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Haw-Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
Welcome back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be as you get ready for Penn State and Ohio State, a noon kickoff in Columbus on Saturday. Real quickly, did want to mention we will have Center County Red Zone returning to the airwaves this Friday night on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox here. State College will be at Cumberland Valley. Bellefonte is at Huntington, Bald Eagle area at Bellwood Annis, and Penns Valley at Tyrone. Our coverage of the games gets underway at 6:40 on Friday night. And good lineup. We have Dennis Hohenscheld will cover the State High game for us, Kerry O'Hara at Bellefonte, Doug Dyke at Bald Eagle area, and Rodney Brungart following the Rams of Penns Valley this week. Phillipsburg Osceola, not part of our Center County Red Zone this week. They play again on a Saturday. It'll be a Saturday night kickoff, 7 o'clock at Bishop Guilfoyle for the Mounties in a big game for Phillipsburg Osceola.
That's all that TV money, Goon.
Huge.
Oh, yeah. TV
Saturday
money.
Night game.
TV rules. Penn State, Ohio State, as we welcome in Mr. Buchanani. The Knits, the Buckeyes, it's on here on Saturday. Goon and I are feeling good. How are you feeling going into the matchup in Columbus?
Well, it would probably...
Stop right there. Okay. The whole reason I asked Chris to come on because he has a lot of nervous energy about this game.
A ton.
And he goes, this might be good for me. And I said, well, your wife called me. Did you put Chris on the air?
Schedule-wise, I am stacked. There's been a crazy few days. May I plug quickly before I talk about the game?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. The obligatory crew has been really busy this week. We brought the podcast back earlier in the season, and the reception has been really good. But big time, we were invited by forthebloggy.com, where I write the weekly pregame column, to put the show back on the air, quote unquote, on their YouTube channel. So we don't know. Maybe we go back to TV next year. We'll see. But right now we're happy to have the gang back together. We premiered our first episode last night on their channel, and it's going gangbusters. So if you want to get a little bit of nonsense from me, Mailman, Kevin, and Noble, just go to YouTube and Google, look up For the Bloggy, and you'll find us. It's good stuff. Nope Zoom this week. We'll have them in person in the studio for our post-Ohio State show.
Cool.
Monday afternoon we'll probably film.
We stay for our show.
Yeah, I'm going to try to drag him out there for sure to the 19th hole.
He give me the live Letterman interview.
That would be fun.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll twist his arm. Okay,
I have a better chance of twisting his arm than you, just so you know.
Well, it's probably true. You're bigger than I am. Yeah. He's actually coming in hot from the airport because he's got
Chiefs
Chargers this week.
Hell of a game.
Yeah, they are inducting Dante Hall into the Kansas City Ring of Honor. So the Chargers coming off that miserable performance against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Not so good for Justin Herbert and company. Back to Ohio State, Penn State.
Ooh, baby.
For the good of the broadcast, I guess it would be better if I was like a counterpoint to you guys.
Yeah.
But this is the best I have felt about this game in a long time.
Ironhead has already come out and said Ohio State by 2 touchdowns.
Good.
His prediction is 2 touchdowns.
I like that. Feel free to tack on a field goal between now and noon on Saturday. That would be fine. In case the radio listeners don't know, Ironhead has an unbelievable knack for going the wrong direction on these predictions.
Yes.
You just did the plug for Center County Red Zone, which is an awesome idea. I'm so glad that's going so well for you guys. I ran into Ironhead before the State College Harrisburg kickoff at Memorial Field last Friday.
I did.
And I asked him, I said, how are we feeling about this game? I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the details. Let's just say every piece of information Ironhead gave me, all of which would have led you to feel great about the Little Lions heading into that game, it pretty much went the exact opposite direction. So 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns even, Ironhead. Whatever you got to do.
Can't believe you were
63-14 Buckeyes.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying here.
I like it.
Did you ever hear my 63-14 story?
No.
We beat Ohio State 63-14 in
I remember.
1994.
I remember.
Homecoming, and I have buddies at Ohio State, and they were telling me that Eddie George was throwing shoes, destroying the locker room. We're nobody's effing homecoming game. F these guys. And we go out there and destroy them 63-14. So fast forward to 2012, 13, excuse me. This is after the 2013. So the 2012 team is over. So 13 was a bad year. So I'm down in Philadelphia doing an event down there for the Ohio State Penn State viewing party. And we're down there, and we had this bunch of stuff to give away at the end of the game and stuff like that. So talking to Bill and Brian and Butler and Fitzgerald after the game, like a Monday or Tuesday, and
By the way, your odds to win something at that watch party were probably pretty great if you waited until the end of the game to give stuff away.
Bill, we're talking to Bill like after the season. We had a couple beers in us, and we're just laughing. And he goes, "I'm not gonna lie to you, I was on the sideline because it was like one of those games. I tell you, you can't do a thing right. It's just never going to go for you." So that was Penn State's not their night. So Bill says, I look over to Butler and I said, "Didn't Goon beat these guys 63-14 because it was the exact same score?"
Yeah.
And I said, Bill, I said, if we're telling stories in school here, I just going to let you know that I had a viewing party. I had to make an announcement at halftime saying we're going to give the gifts away now. So I don't think we're coming back on this one. So it was a fun one, but
I would like to point out that Penn State team was 20 scholarship players shy of a full load. Just, if you're comparing the two 63-14 results. Also,
Eddie George was on that team?
Correct.
Correct.
Also, shouts to my Penn State roommate, Edward J. Seeley III. Thank you so much for scheduling your wedding up against that game. So I had a legitimate reason to be partying on Hilton Head Island and not exposing myself to that 3 hours of misery. It was good stuff. That was a really one of the few excuses you can probably have to not be watching the game like the place we were at. It was awesome.
What
Did
if
not
it was
have
like 17-16 and we lost? Would you just completely have ruined the wedding?
Why is
Would
that?
you have been that hammered guy all pissed off?
No. You know what? There were a ton of Penn State alums there, and it was we were out on the island, no internet, no TV, and it was good. We were at peace with it. Yeah.
We just returned the kick, so it's
the good thing about that season, those 2 seasons when we were not bowl eligible, is that you got to see, kind of guess what it's like if you're following a team, the Ivy League, where it's just week to week, you're just enjoying the game for what it is. And so that season, we had some absolute bummer results. The losing at Indiana, getting hammered by Ohio State and Columbus, but we also had some fun as hell games. That the Syracuse win to open the season. The overtime whiteout win against Michigan and going on the road and hammering Wisconsin as a 24-point dog. Yeah, good stuff.
And that was also that bad Nebraska loss, right? Or was that 12?
That was 2012. You're talking about the play. Yeah.
Touchdown.
Yeah. The
ball touch line, ball scores.
John O'Neill. Thanks so much.
And then, by the way, speaking of that Indiana team, how about Penix being the front runner for the Heisman Trophy right now at Washington? It's crazy to think about that guy, that freshman quarterback who beat us in 2020, in the on that 2-point play. That was not a 2-point play. But
I was going to say.
But that was Penix's freshman year.
Sometimes
now he's
where you're at
Heisman Trophy. Exactly.
Is all that matters. Goon, you've heard me say before over the years that I really believe that had Antoine Randall L. gotten an offer from Nebraska and gone there when they were running that option offense, he would have won a Heisman Trophy. I really believe that. He was that talented, but instead he was stuck playing for Indiana, and he would make 1 or 2 splash plays against Penn State, and they would hang in longer than they should have, and they would lose like 54-35.
But like Ironhead says every week, is Joe Burrow as good as he is right now if he has playing for the Chicago Bears? And his Fields.
I promise you that he would not be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's just part of the equation for all those. Real quickly, I just have to tell the story too. So the talking about weddings and football games. So 2005, one of my best buddies at Penn State gets married on Michigan weekend, and we're up there. And it's a wonderful wedding, and of course, all of the
Can I get some Pepto-Bismol over here?
Yes,
please?
all of the groomsmen and a good chunk of the wedding party. The reception. So we're kind of listening to the game on our Walkman. What we did is we assigned one person for like 20-minute span, so somebody was always listening to the game, but not all of us at any point. So
what are you doing to us? This is like a Saw movie. Are you really going to slowly take us up to the moment we know is coming?
Yeah. So everybody's up there. The reception, there's a TV upstairs in like the coat room. So there's like, I am not exaggerating, there had to be 30 people piled in this room watching the last, and of course, clock goes to 0. We're all celebrating, high fives. All right, the party's on. Let's go downstairs. Oh, hold on a second. What's happening? So we end up, obviously, and we kind of, it's like, all right, just like I'm guessing the football teams have to do after the loss. It's like, all right, got to regroup. So we all we're sitting there like, all right, we cannot like be the miserable SOBs we want to be right now. Like, his wife will never forgive us. So we're like, all right, it's over. We're just going to go down. And we did. We went down and we partied it up.
Yep.
We hit the open bar hard. And we're like, hey, it is what it is. We're going to just party the rest of the night, put it in the rear view mirror. We did a pretty good job of it.
I got one better for you.
Yeah.
What if the Weiss family was from Notre Dame and they lost in the Bush push
5
minutes after that? If you recall that, you were at a wedding that day. You were at the wedding. You were watching it. Were you there?
No.
Okay, so you went from Penn State losing to Michigan, and then they went to the fourth quarter of that Notre Dame Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
That all happened within a 10 minutes.
So
Ironhead's wedding, all the guys were Penn State people, but all the women were all Notre Dame. So it was a big brawl in the middle of the wedding by the end of the night.
That would
just
be
some
brutal.
angry college football people.
Well, so the thing with the Bush push is that for as frustrating as that 05 Michigan result is, and we were here at Quaker Steak and Lube, an absolute place, a great place to come out and eat wings and watch sports. We're sitting up against the wall, and I am probably, I don't know, what would you say, about 12, 15 feet away from the bar here at the Lube.
Yep.
That's about the distance between me and Mario Manningham when he caught that pass at the big house.
If he went through his hand, you'd have tipped it. You'd have got a piece of it.
Yes, absolutely. And so it still hurts. I was the last Penn State fan to leave the Penn State section that day, and we drove home in absolute silence from Ann Arbor to State College. For as bad as we felt then, I've had to watch it, unfortunately.
Did you ever see what happened?
I don't. Yes, and I don't want to talk about it.
Corner in the safety.
I don't want to talk about it.
Zamitis is playing zone, and corner's playing zone.
Saw movie. This is Saw. Is what you're doing to me right now. But to make everybody feel a little bit better, the result of that game had absolutely no impact on Penn State's season.
It was worse. I remember because I was coaching, and I told the guys, I said, dude, if we go undefeated, they're going to take Texas and USC anyway.
Yeah, so it was the Bush
push.
To us. It was the Bush push, and no one on Fresno State's football team being able to tackle Reggie Bush on special teams all night. Either one of those results could have gotten Penn State into the national championship game.
Correct.
On the other hand, if Penn State had won and gone undefeated,
they'd have been Penn State.
They still would have been number 3.
Yep.
They would have been the exact same spot they finished. They would have been playing Florida State in the Orange Bowl. So the only results that affected Penn State having a chance to play for the national title, Penn State had nothing to do with.
Well, didn't USC and Texas get suspended for those? That game didn't actually happen, so we should be national champions. Right?
I don't remember Texas got in any trouble.
Sure you did. Why not?
For what?
I don't know. Something.
Stealing signals.
Stealing signals live.
A vast network of spies.
All I know about that game, and this is a classic, just throwing it out there and all that stuff, but I remember watching that game. It was the day after it was the day before our Orange Bowl, or one of them. It was like before or after the.
You talking about the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
It was the day after because we listened to it in the car ride home.
Yeah, we were still there down there in Florida. And I remember watching Vince Young the year before do the exact same thing in the fourth quarter to Michigan.
Yep.
That he did to Texas.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting with a bunch of guys who were like, USC got this. And I was just like, oh, I'll bet you. I won a couple cases of beer that night, boys. A lot of cases.
Do you remember for like 20 days leading up to that game, every day on SportsCenter, this was back when people used to watch SportsCenter.
If you say the all-time greatest offense and they were comparing it to yes.
They would have a poll every single day, and they would say, could this historic team beat 2005 USC? And the only team that was not credited by the AP or coaches poll with a national title that they threw into that poll was 1994 Penn State. So they knew it was up.
Yep.
But the thing that killed me about it was I was like, you know what 2 teams should appear in this poll and haven't yet? Number 1 is 2004 USC, who I think is better than this 05 team. Yep. And the other one is, guys, how about 2005 Texas? Can we let them play the actual game before we crown 05 USC as the greatest team of all time? I mean, it was like typical, like,
wasn't that ESPN making the news?
Yeah, the ESPN manufacturing the narrative. And then so the greatest thing ever, it was like when the Dallas Mavericks beat the Miami Heat that first year when they built the super team. It was just, guys, let's wait till the end of the season and see what helps, see what turns out, because I thought the best player in college football that year was Vince Young.
Absolutely, he was. And they say that
we're all over the place.
Who?
The 3 of us.
Wow.
Like a half hour ago, Ironhead asked me what I think about the Ohio State game, and we're talking about
Ohio
Vince Young.
State game.
Well, I'm jumping off the air in 5 or 10 minutes, but I have to say that Penn State 24-14.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
24 points, huh?
Yes.
The number 3 defense in America right now.
Who?
Ohio State.
Yep.
This is overall defensive ranking. This is 2 versus 3.
We're going to go defensive touchdown or special teams touchdown. We're going to reverse what they've done to us. Dominate the game up front, offensively, defensively. And just tell me what McCord's done. I mean, he's a Philadelphia kid from St. Joe's Prep, so you know I'm going to like the kid, obviously.
Sure.
But, Marvin Jr.'s there and stuff like that. But I don't, it's what it is. I like us out there. I really do. I have not felt this good about a team since 2008, to be honest with you.
Of the big 3 in the Big Ten East, Ohio State has the best win at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Penn State probably has the next 2 best wins over West Virginia and Iowa, not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Michigan doesn't have a win yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Anybody.
I said, I think on the podcast last night, if I were a Michigan fan, I mean, they look great. I'm not trying to take anything away from their team. I think they're very, very good. I would be a little nervous about the fact that I'm going to go all the way until November before I play a team with a pulse, and I got to do it on the road. And if Penn State pulls this off this weekend, it's going to be the biggest game for Penn State football in easily a quarter century. So, I mean, I'd be a little uncomfortable about that situation as a Michigan fan.
Here's another thing with Michigan, just to, while we're on it, because I think most, including me, by the way, I am on board to this point with saying that I think, as we sit here right now, that Michigan is the standard bearer in the Big Ten.
Stealing signs from Rutgers.
In the Big Ten East. Wow, you have to. To try to slow down that offense, you got to figure out. I can't blame them for that. But here's the thing: even with the stealing the signs, and with as good as that team is, and they haven't played anybody, statistically, right? They are behind Penn State and Ohio State defensively, and they're behind Penn State offensively. and now I'm forgetting of which ones. I think they might be behind both on offense and defense, both teams, even though I think everybody would agree Penn State and Ohio State. And again, I understand the statistics, and I'm not saying that this proves Michigan's third best, but I'm just saying it is interesting. I think everybody would agree Michigan has had the easiest schedule to this point, and of the three schools.
There's no question.
And yet statistically, so you would expect them, if they're the best team among the three, to have the best statistics. And now it's comparable. And again, I'm not sitting here telling you that this proves anything definitively, but I do think it's interesting to note that, yeah, Penn State and Ohio State statistically are putting up better numbers against better teams to this point in the season than the team that is the highest ranked. And I think that most nationally are expecting to ultimately win the conference.
I had not thought about that.
It's take it for what it's worth.
Lies and statistics.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, going back to Notre Dame as the best win for Ohio State. Look, that's a hostile environment, and that's I think a well-coached team with a lot of talent. It's top 25 talent. I think we are now maybe giving them too much credit for the way they beat up USC.
Yeah.
Because of the final score.
I'm with you.
And I think if you look at the way that game shook out for Notre Dame, it was like a perfect storm. They got a kickoff return for a touchdown at one point, which never happens at any level of football anymore. That was crazy. And the other thing is Notre Dame's offense is very plodding. It's not potent at all. And they were handed a short field 3 times.
Yeah.
By those Caleb Williams interceptions, and USC's defense stinks. So it was perfect situation for Notre Dame to get the ball on a short field, face a lackluster defense, and then just all of a sudden, you get the avalanche effect going on, and then you throw on a special team score on top of it. I don't remember. They didn't have a defensive score in that game, I don't think. I was clicking around, I was watching Miami, USC.
I don't think Notre Dame did, no.
But they did get the short field a couple of times, and then, USC was just having an off night.
Yeah, Caleb Williams, I think it's fair to say that game is not going to go in his highlight tape from his collegiate career. It might be the only game that doesn't go on his highlight
Before
tape.
I do go, I do want to talk about in what world is he coming from saying he wants ownership in whoever drafts him? I mean,
the crazy world we're living in.
Think about that. Do you think that an NFL owner who's going to give I told you, Aaron Rodgers has every right in the world to go to Woody Johnson and say, "I want a piece of the pie here."
So I was listening.
17-year vet, not a college junior.
I was listening to, which I just hadn't thought about this angle, and I forget, it might have been Colin Cowherd on our station, but somebody was he can't
there's flaws,
it would be right because it would be you'd be getting around the
salary cap?
Because you're giving a piece of the program, so conceivably you could save yourself $50 million on the salary cap and give them $50 million in stock on the team. Well, you can't. I mean, there are laws in
Isn't
place.
That
not even
part
just
of what the
rules.
Dolphins got in trouble with Tom Brady. That they were apparently trying to backdoor a deal with him.
Well, they're both Michigan
but
guys,
I think that was promised.
Stealing signs.
But I think that was promised afterward. Yeah. Well, and I think part of it was that they would deflate the footballs for every fifth game. It was hard.
But I mean, it's just what if Caleb Williams goes to Arizona and he just busts? Now he's a 4% owner of the team. You got to see him every year, give him a check the rest of his life. You don't want to see that. What if he turns into Ryan Leaf? I don't want to see you. Get out of here. The audacity, and it's only going to get worse, the entitlement of athletes. And we're all guilty for allowing it to happen.
Not me.
Go Phillies.
The rest of you, you're all guilty. Phillies, coming up here right after the show. The dear Goon is departing us. He's got debauchery to plan.
Come back with a dub. please.
No crap,
next week
in Columbus, and we will see you Tuesday and talk about the big W then.
Yes, sir.
Booch and I will be right back with more on the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. That's WFXS, Pleasant Gap State College.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are goonless for the final hour of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Chris Bucanani kind enough to fill in. So it's the Booch and Ironhead show here for the final hour as we get ready for Penn State, Ohio State on Saturday afternoon. Again, a noon kickoff on Fox. And Booch, it's interesting. Just curious on your viewing plans and when you get big games like this, because I've changed a bit over the years, and we're getting together with just one family, and it's just going to be the two families watching the game. And actually, Reg, the Mad Turtle, and Mom actually have a Cub Scout event until 1, so they probably won't get home until closer to halftime.
Is he, by the way, is he single-handedly funding that Cub pack with his popcorn
just about
sales
is.
at this point?
He did hit his goal. We wrapped up the sales on Tuesday, so it could be as early as next week.
Other groups are going to go on camping trips. You guys are going to take a trip
think
through 7 European countries.
Yeah, they may be taking a tour of exactly. Yes, it is. He did raise over $5,000 for
awesome.
With Cub Scout with the popcorn sales for our Cub Scout pack. But so I will have pink hair here at some point for the Facebook Live crowd sometime within the next 2 weeks. We're still figuring out exactly when this is going to happen, and then a week after that, we will see some sort of a crazy hair design as the Mad Turtle gets to cut my hair.
Love it
as well.
Love it.
So
that's Penn State throwback colors. That's good stuff.
Now the good news for me is, well, I'm hoping it's good news, is we also threw into the mix the Steelers game against the Jaguars. So we're taking him down.
Ooh.
That'll be a week from Sunday. So the day after the Penn State Indiana game, we'll be going down for his first NFL game as the Steelers and Jaguars.
Oh, Jaguars coming off a long week since they're playing tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm hoping it's a good experience for me. And, hopefully for him too. But, man, come on. So, yes, we have all of that to look forward to. But there was a time when I would have been like, man, let's get a group together. Let's go out and watch. And even though I am optimistic about what's going to happen Saturday, I will still go out and watch games. I'm okay in whatever setting. But I do kind of prefer, truthfully, just kind of being at home and for the big road games and just watching the game, and then you can act however you want to act. I feel like when I'm in public, you got to be a little bit more reserved. I'll still express myself for sure, but I'm like, I know there's some people that are gonna know me, and we'll try to keep the cursing to a minimum if I'm out at a public venue. Not saying I always accomplish it. In case some of you have been out, it's like, wait, that was Ironhead trying to be reserved. Yep, I'm trying. I'm not saying I'm always successful, but generally speaking, I'm kind of content now just watching the games at home with the family, or maybe a very small group of friends.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Goon has been leaning into me hard all week, trying to get me to go on this trip out to Columbus. Tempting, very tempting. I mean, every time people try to get me to take these road trips, it's not that I'm averse to it. I've definitely done and enjoyed every Penn State road trip. But there are always all these mitigating factors. You understand what it's like. You were talking about Reggie has the Cub Scout events. Like Bella's got her cheerleading schedule that we got to work around. And the thing is, like, my wife and I are both like really big Penn State football fans. We try to watch every game together. And kind of like you, like when we can just sort of like let the emotions out in the privacy of our own home, like that is very advantageous for both of us. And so that's where we're at. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to do anything big. We are going to just work through our psychoses together in our house. And that's probably best for all involved.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Because I'm excited for this one, and I am at peace with the fact that I think this is a game of enormous consequence. And what's going to happen is going to happen. That's just kind of the way I have felt about this entire season. But to say that I don't have nerves attached to it, it would be a total falsehood.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it's funny because I am at a point where I'm like, listen, I'm kind of with you. It's like, it feels to me like this is destiny's not quite the right term, but I just feel like this is the year Penn State gets this done against Ohio State, and then we'll see what happens with Michigan. I can see that one playing out a bunch of different ways.
My season record prediction was 11-1. You split the series with a win in Columbus and a loss at home to Michigan.
Yeah, and I think that's
and so far nothing has moved me off of that.
Yeah, as far as the Ohio State game, again, to me, it just feels like Penn State, as usual, matches up well with them. But I think Penn State has, like, truly an advantage in some key spots. I just like the coaching staff. I like the way the schedule has played out, as I've been saying. I mean, basically, in my mind, they've had a month to get ready for this game with Ohio State. I think even just some of the little things other than home field advantage, which obviously Ohio State has, it feels to me like a lot of the intangibles are favoring Penn State when it comes to the injuries and I guess tangibles. I mean, that's a tangible one. But I think overall Penn State's a healthier team. I think they're a little better in some key spots. I just think this coaching staff has figured some stuff out and knows what it wants to do, how to utilize a very talented roster. And while I think both teams will certainly have some wrinkles thrown in, I think Penn State will have more different looks for Ohio State than the Buckeyes will for the Nittany Lions.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a couple of things in the hip pocket here for Penn State. I'm sure I'll be wrong, but I just really have this feeling that Bo Pribula is going to see action in one of those first 3 series. I think that they're going to get him out there just to give that different look, try to
There's now officially a 0% chance that will occur.
Change the pace of the game, all of that, and that they'll have, 10 plays set up, and they've worked on them for all of the last month, and it's like, man, we just know what we're doing here. We're going to go out, give them that different look, and use that to help keep the Buckeyes, a little off balance.
Well, to me, here's the question: if that occurs, and I can completely see and understand your rationale for it. You are not the first person I have heard say that. In fact, maybe Christian Hackenberg let the cat out of the bag a little bit, talking about it in the Monday Night Live podcasts they did down at Champs. I don't know. I'll still be a little surprised if it happens, just because to me, if you got the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country, you don't take him off the field under any circumstances not involving health. But I think back to Tommy Stevens and the way they used him, the Joe Moorhead offense.
Yeah.
Clearly, Bo is an athlete. Is he a serious enough football player? Kind of your Michael Robinson is another guy who moved all around the field early in his career at Penn State. Could you put him out there and use him, flex him out as a receiver, so that you could conceivably put both Aller and Bo in the huddle together?
Yeah.
And so then the first time you show the look, Aller's at quarterback and Bo just goes out, and then you can show that same look in the huddle, and then that's where Aller just goes out as the dummy, like when they would put Matt McGloin out or Christian Hackenberg in a Wildcat situation. It's like, come on, everybody understands you're not taking him seriously as a receiving threat, but I mean, you can't leave him wide open. You got to at least have him covered. And then that's when Bo runs the ball. Yeah, maybe I can see that, but I'll still be a little surprised if they do it.
I'd have them both come up, have them both come out, Pribula under right guard, Aller under left guard, and then direct snap to Singleton.
We create a lot of havoc running that offense in Penn State intramural football.
Yes,
and I was thrilled. I sent screenshots to my buddy Ed. I mentioned him in the last segment. I was like, I saw some like Division II school or Division I AA offense running it, and with the 2 quarterbacks and the directional snap to one or the other. I'm like, look, they're running our IM football offense. So yeah, to your point about feeling like this is the year, I think one of the reasons why everybody has that good feeling around Nittany Nation is that this is one of the first years in a long time that I have not felt like in order to win the game, Penn State needs to be played pretty much perfectly. And I think that's because we're not an underdog. I think that to the extent that the talent gap still exists, and if you look at the recruiting rankings, it's still there. I think it has narrowed to the point where it doesn't make as much of a difference for 2 reasons. First of all, look, sometimes you get a 5-star guy who plays like a 3-star and a 3-star who plays like a 5-star. And I think right now that imbalance has helped Penn State close the gap. Yeah. It also matters who's on the field. If you've got guys in the pipeline who are boosting up that net star rating but aren't going to make an impact on this game, and that's maybe the case again in this situation, I don't know that it matters all that much. But to me, most importantly, where the talent differential between Ohio State and Penn State has reared its ugly head from 2017 on is at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
And I think Penn State matches up favorably on the offensive and defensive lines. And when was the last time we could say that?
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think I'm excited to see what Manny Diaz does with this defense and the different ways that they approach this Ohio State offense, depending on down and distance. Obviously, if you're Penn State, you're wanting to get Ohio State into 2nd and 3rd and long, right? It's man, stop the run, or get pressure on McCord, whatever, but get them to second or third and long, and with third team running back. And listen, they're good there. I get it. It's not like they're devoid of talent, and just like Penn State would feel good putting Trey Potts out there. Like, it's not like you're, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. But it's not. There's a reason there's 1, 2, 3 in your depth chart.
Yes.
So I like Penn State's chances of forcing that. And listen, if it is a game, which I think most people are expecting the defenses to have the better games for both teams, then I just feel better about Penn State's defense creating more havoc, and McCord not being able to come up with the big play as consistently as Aller. Again, third and long, maybe not necessarily where Penn State wants to be. And truthfully, I don't think Penn State will be there often because they haven't been. And I know we talk about the lack of the explosive plays for Penn State, but the other side of that is Drew Aller is taking what's there. And so it is not often that Penn State is facing those third and longs because Aller is checking off and dumping down and taking the 3 or 4 yards or 6 or 7 yards when it's there. And you put yourself then, in a second and short where you still have now everything at your disposal. You can try that deep shot that everybody wants, or you can, try to just take care of business and get the first down. And I think, but if you do get to those third and longs, I feel completely confident that Aller can still convert those. And I'm not as confident looking at it from Ohio State's side that the Buckeyes would be able to do that this year. Now, I think Ohio State has the best player on the field on Saturday in Harrison. I think for my money, he's probably the best player in college football for my money.
Okay.
But I think if you go down position by position, I think Penn State is at least even, and I think in some key spots like quarterback, like left tackle, there are some key spots there where it's like, Penn State has the advantage here.
Yeah.
Again, weird things have happened in this series, and Penn State has had games that, I think they clearly should have won and let slip away. Could I see that scenario playing out Saturday? Sure.
I'll tell you what, though,
I can.
Those games, and we know which ones you're talking about, the 2 1-point losses in 2017 and 18, Penn State let them slip away, but both of those games would have been from an honest, unbiased accounting of the talent on both teams, upsets. Like Penn State
for sure
was not, even though that 2017 team was really good, their offensive line versus the matchup against Ohio State's defensive line was a major mismatch. And that's why we lost the game. We lost the game because we couldn't get 2 or 3 yards when it mattered, even with Saquon Barkley in the backfield, because there was such a differential in ability at the line of scrimmage, which does not exist this year. 30 years in the Big Ten, Ironhead, 8 wins versus the Buckeyes, 2 in the horseshoe. And if you listen to those numbers, you say, that's grisly. 8 wins in 30 years. Since 1993, the only team in the conference who's performed better against Ohio State than Penn State is Michigan, and that's only because they won the last 2 meetings.
And
so we played those guys as well as anyone in the Big Ten.
And listen, narratives, I mean, that's one of the great things of sports, right, is narratives can change and change quickly. But until 2 seasons ago, right, the narrative it wasn't a narrative, it was a fact. I mean, Jim Harbaugh could not beat Michigan. I could not beat Ohio State. I mean, Jim Harbaugh.
Do you ever think about if he had not faked COVID in 2020 and not had to play them and lost by 50 points? He would have gotten fired, and the entire college football world is different.
That's a whole different, it's
steal signs, fake team-wide illness, whatever you have to do.
It is.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, apparently.
Like we needed extra reasons to despise Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. But so, and people are, James Franklin is 1-8 against Ohio State and has never beaten Ryan Day, and all of this is like, okay, I mean, all fair, and I get it. Penn State wants to be the standard bearer in the Big Ten, but at the end of the day, you got to sit back and
to your point, if we get it done on Saturday, guess who he's tied with in wins versus Ohio State?
Yeah, Jim
Harbaugh, who did not have to take over a program that was pulling guys off the defensive line so they could have 5 scholarship offensive linemen to start off. And people would say, oh, stop making excuses. Look, I am as ardent and excuses are like, you know what, guy, as you're going to find. But I hate when explanations get dismissed as excuses.
Yeah, you can't discount the reality and the impact that
the only reason it matters that there's an elite tier in college football is that there aren't that many teams that are elite. If there were 10 or 15 elite programs, nobody would care about being elite.
And so that's my point.
To break into that.
Yes, and
group.
People are worked up that James Franklin hasn't beaten Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. And again, outside of Jim Harbaugh, here's the news flash: nobody in the Big Ten has beaten Ryan Day. Like there isn't a so.
If their place kicker could have made a reasonable distance field goal in the playoffs last year, and by the way, it is hilarious that he couldn't. But if he did, guess who would have an L to Ryan Day at Ohio State? Yep. Kirby Smart and the 2-time defending national champions now.
Yeah,
and they would have not been 2-time defending national champions. Yeah, I mean it's a thin margin, and there is a line to be walked. There's a line to be walked between being honest and critical about places where we let games slip away and where we need to catch up to Ohio State, and just being fatalistic and saying, oh, we're never going to do it. And just because we haven't done it doesn't mean that we can ever do it. And it's again, sort of the same thing. I feel like you can be fair in assessing these two teams and say, yeah, until Penn State gets it done on the field, Ohio State has earned the benefit of the doubt. And what we have seen, body of work, what we know about the talent on these rosters, the way we have seen these two teams play since they met at Beaver Stadium last season, it is completely reasonable. It's not wishful thinking. It's not homerism to say that Penn State is at the very least on equal footing with the Buckeyes this year. And, I know poor Corey Geiger has just gotten beaten up incessantly over the last couple of weeks. So maybe it's not fair to use him as a punching bag, but like you remember, of course, his infamous comments before the 2016 Penn State Ohio State game. And he went over the top in saying that if you think Penn State is going to win this game, like you're a fraud and you're a liar, and you're delusional, your opinion shouldn't be taken seriously. He went over the top, but in a sense, he wasn't wrong.
It was one of the most stunning upsets. I mean,
this is not one of those games. And when I think about the 8 wins that Penn State has managed to get, then that is, frankly, I hate to say it, an accomplishment, given how consistent and good that program has been over the last quarter century. I think really only 2 of them, 2016 and 2001, Joe's 324th win, the Zach Mills game. Those are the only games where I think Penn State upset Ohio State. In every other game, we were either the better team, like in 99, 2011, 1994, or the two programs were equal, 1997, 2008. So this is one of those games where the programs are equal. So it is not blue and white glasses viewing the world to say that you think Penn State's going to win this one.
Yeah, and again, I just think there's a lot of things aligning in Penn State's favor. And I'll tell you, Booch, part of it too, for me at least, is just kind of reading the locker rooms from admittedly a distance. But I think Ohio State believes it should win this game. And I mean, I think they're not. I don't think they're fazed by Penn State coming in, but I do think there's they are a 4-point favorite at home. They're the higher ranked team. I mean, a loss here will be viewed as almost devastating in Ohio State. And I think if this game is close late,
well, they're used to putting it on autopilot until the last week of the regular season.
Well, and so I know that the conventional wisdom is, listen, Ohio State beat Notre Dame in the clutch. They have that game under their belt, and they know they can produce it in the clutch. We don't know about this Penn State team. I think if this game is close late, and I get the history of the series and all of it, I think Penn State on the road, I think Ohio State gets a little tight. Part of what I love about this Penn State team going into this is there is a swagger right now, and it's not a false bravado or anything. It is, we know, and I'm talking as though in the Penn State locker room, I think there's that feeling, hey, we know we're the better team. We just got to go out and take care of business. Yeah. I think that is a genuine belief in that locker room right now. And with the experience that they have, the maturity that they have, it's obviously not going to be shocking if Ohio State wins this game.
Sure.
But I really do truly believe Penn State is going to go out and win this game. And I just like the matchups overall in this game. And again, I think Penn State wins comfortably. Now, not 63-14 comfortably, but I don't think this game comes down to the final couple of minutes where you're having to make a play against I think it's like that 10-14 point margin at the end of the day. I think I think I have it 27-17, but I kind of want to see the 31 just to keep the 30 over 30 streak going.
Keep the 30 going.
But so I keep trying to talk myself into 31-17. Which I think is possible.
The good news is we win the game, we keep the cover streak going because we're dogs.
This is true. Just a W gets it done.
So I picked a game. This game I felt like is reminiscent of the 2008 game where you've got two first-year quarterbacks, one from Ohio starting for Penn State, one from Pennsylvania starting for Ohio State.
Yep.
Two really good defenses in the horseshoe. This is, as I said in the first hour, a matchup of the number 2 in Penn State, number 3 in Ohio State defenses in the country, ranked in overall defense. Now, if you look at points allowed, Penn State's number 1. I think Ohio State's down at like number 8.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a handful of points, and neither team has played like exactly like high-powered, potent offenses so far this year. They're both very good. I picked it to be a very close game. Now, I am already getting lit up in a good way by folks on the comments For the Bloggy YouTube channel on the obligatory pregame show. Thank you for commenting. It helps in the algorithm. Oh, Buchanani's head's going to explode when Penn State wins by 10+ points. I mean, it might. If what you're saying turns out to be true, and I understand it's opposite day since you obviously picked the Buckeyes to win by a minimum of 2 touchdowns.
Minimum.
If it is not close in the declining minutes of the fourth quarter, I don't even know. I did a Twitter space or an X space, I don't know, whatever it's called now, on Tuesday night, and somebody asked, what is the amount of points that will allow you to be at peace in the fourth quarter? And I was on with Kevin Horn and Steve and Tim from the Let's Talk Penn State podcast, and all three of them said no amount of points. There's no lead that we will consider safe, which is, I mean, that's hyperbole, obviously. But truly, I said it's got to be 17 or more with 3 minutes to go. Otherwise, I am still on pins and needles till it's over. I'll be shocked. I will be shocked if I am relaxed in the fourth quarter at any point.
Understood. We do have a question from Terry on the comments. If Penn State beats Ohio State, is there a chance Fox would move the Michigan game to later in the day? I mean, I guess there's always a chance, but I think it's less of a chance.
There's less
Penn
of a
State
chance
winning because, again, just so you're aware, like what Fox is doing, their big game is they are putting at noon. So obviously, I mean, Penn State, Michigan would be as big a game as you're going to have in college football this season if Penn State beats Ohio State. And again, when you say they chance, there's Denver still has a chance to make the playoffs.
That's been mathematically
it's like
eliminated.
a point 001. But no,
this is Penn Lloyd State, Christmas 1 in a million chance.
Penn State, Michigan will be at noon. Actually, I think whether Penn State wins or loses this game,
correct.
That is all but guaranteed. But again, the bigger that matchup is, the more certain it'll be noon. That's what Fox is doing. That they like having that noon block because they own that time slot.
Yep.
Because all other big games are moved to later in the day, and that gives them again unquestionably that 3-hour block for their advertisers and for the ratings. So,
and people don't like that,
no.
and I understand and appreciate the question, Terry. I don't want to come across like we're dismissing it, and I do want to kind of give the background because I think it's confusing to a lot of fans, and I get that. My co-host Kevin Horn calls it the Big Noon Taliban, like ruining college football by putting these games on at noon. And I can't say that I disagree. Here's why it's happening. When Fox decided to go all in on college football as a product, obviously we know they are investing a lot of money in that. That's why Pat Kraft gets to cash a $70 million check as part of the new Big Ten media deal this year. But Fox looked at the landscape, the broadcast landscape of college football and said, hey, we're buying into the Big Ten. We have now acquired the rights to broadcast some of the most tradition-rich programs in the country with the biggest alumni bases in some of the biggest media markets. And the broadcast model of this sport before we jumped in is backload all the biggest games into 3:30 in prime time.
Yep.
The way you make your money, the way you draw a huge audience in college football is not getting Jeff Byers and Bucanani to watch because they're going to tune in no matter when we put the game on.
Yep.
The way you get the big number, the one that lets you charge buku bucks for your advertising space and justify the billions you have invested into the media contract, is you get casual fans to watch. And if you're a casual fan who does not live or die with every snap of either one of the teams involved, you just want to see two big brands go up against each other, it's pretty convenient. It's pretty nice to have that viewing option in the early afternoon, and then you can spend the rest of your day doing something else. So they said, let's try putting these big games on at noon, and it stinks for the diehard fans. But guess what? We're all captured. We're going to show up. No matter what.
Yep.
And the casuals are loving it. So Fox is making money hand over fist selling commercials during that noon to 3 time slot with these big games. So it's here to stay. I mean, I'm not defending it. I'm not trying to justify it. I am trying to explain it. The big noon is here to stay in college football, especially in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but the other thing is, Booch, so the casual fan that maybe is tuning in at 3:30 or 7, you're picking between or 8,
correct,
4, like so you have now 3 or 4 options, and maybe you're flipping around, or maybe you just all right, I'm going to pick this game this week, but some other casual fans are going to pick the other games.
Yep.
And so you're not Penn State, Ohio State. Again, unless you're a fan of one of the other teams playing at noon, like you are part of the Indiana fan base, right? Like everybody else, I mean, every casual fan, and truthfully, even some of the fans of the other teams that are playing at noon, they're going to be at least flipping over a commercial break because it's like, okay, well, I know my team's doing this, but I got to see what's happening in Penn State, Ohio State. So, I mean, when we say they own that time block, Fox, I mean, you own it because, yes, everybody else has pushed those better games back to later in the day so that Fox, whatever game it makes the big game, that is unquestionably the game that you need to watch in that noon block. And there's just no other block of time where you're like, all right, definitively, very often anyway, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, again, there's a couple of games there that you're like, that's a good one. That's a good one. You pick one or the other. And even if one is, higher ranked teams, maybe the other one ends up being a better game. Penn State, Ohio State, regardless of how the game turns out, that's the game you're locked in on.
Some evil programming genius at Fox identified a massive market inefficiency, and they have successfully exploited the heck out of it. And that is it. And it's not going to change. The saving grace to some extent in the new Big Ten media deal is that NBC is going to get that primetime game every week. There's going to be a Saturday night game as part of the Big Ten media deal. Penn State got to kick it off with the West Virginia game. So when NBC comes up in the rotation, then you're going to see probably a couple of the big games that otherwise would have been on noon at noon these last few years. They are going to move to primetime. CBS every once in a while is going to hook you up with a 3:30 kickoff for one of your big games. But yeah, the nooners are not going away.
Yep. And yes, tailgating and the in-person experience on game day is always better. I agree with that.
Brenton, the manager here at the Lube, is over to the side. Just like I will not repeat what he is mouthing to me because there are some grown-up words I can't say on the radio about what he thinks about Big Noon. But I am with you. I am absolutely with you. They are for the people here at Quaker Steak and Lube.
By the way, just Terry saying tailgating and the in-person game experience is always better. 100% agree. I think both Booch and I are all on board with that. I'm saying for the away games when you're home, if you're not able to travel, as I'm not this year. I was talking about where do you want to watch the game, or how do you want to watch the game? I am thrilled to not
have to stay up, not be on pins and needles all day, and just be able to not have to, if this does not go well, and again, history would tell us there's a high percentage chance of that happening, even though that's not what I'm calling for on Saturday. I am glad I don't have to go to bed with that taste in my mouth.
I am with you.
It's all good on the road.
Yes, yes. On when the road games.
Also glad to not be playing at the shoe at night.
I would strongly prefer the noon kickoffs for all of those reasons. Plus, then, hopefully you win, but even if you lose, then you get to your game's out of the way, and now you get to enjoy the rest of the day and bounce around. And it's like, there's, like you said, there's no pressure and anticipation building up. So
I don't even know what, I mean, if it's been so long, I don't even know how I am going to react if Penn State gets this done. Ironhead.
I know how I'm going to react.
My whole column for the bloggy this week is about like the failure of imagination of our younger fans or newer fans who have never experienced what you and I have, which is some great Penn State wins versus the Buckeyes. They can't even conceive of it. And even I, who have watched a lot of them on TV, been in the stands for plenty of them, even I am having a tough time imagining what I'm going to do, other than I am pretty sure I'm going to have to consult a physician for a certain medical condition lasting more than 4 hours.
I am. I understand what you're saying. I will say this.
We're on the radio now, Ironhead. I got to be oblique with these things.
Well done, sir. I will say this. I think I know how I'm going to react, and it will not be with the poise that Drew Aller has consistently displayed in the pocket. And part of why I want to watch at home is, yes, I will unleash, and I may have to go to another part of the house because the Mad Turtle will likely be with us at the end of the game. I am going to have to go let some and it'll be hopefully very positive expressions, obviously, if they win. But I'm going to have to let some things fly and get it out of my system.
Yeah, I mean, I remember how I felt
phone calls
when Brad Lidge got the final out of the 2008 World Series. Another interesting 2008 analogy I'll mention. I remember how I felt when the Hail Mary, Tom Brady's Hail Mary, was knocked to the turf in Minnesota in Super Bowl 52, and it's going to be pretty close to that.
Well, and the weather factor, Joe Bastardi, maybe we'll get him in here one of these, especially if Penn State beats Ohio State. We'll get him in before Michigan, but Penn State's history in the El Nino years is remarkable.
I have
94,
heard that.
86, 82, going back, it is. I mean, it really is. It's unbelievable. So Bastardi has been telling us from day one, you don't got to worry about this year.
Didn't Larry Johnson get 2,000 yards in an El Nino year?
I think that is correct.
It's crazy.
Yes,
it's crazy.
It is truly amazing, Penn State's proclivity for coming up big in the El Nino seasons. We'll take a break here. We will talk a little Phillies baseball when we come back.
You know what? We can keep talking Penn State. I just honestly, it's all I can think about. And the Phillies are playing in the NLCS. All I can think about is Penn State. I do want to talk about James Franklin a little bit, but
okay,
we can talk the Phillies as well.
We will do that. Well, we'll just talk at least briefly about the Phillies, because what they are doing here with the long ball is historically impressive. But we'll talk about that. And yes, much more on Penn State, Ohio State, as we wrap up our Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube, after this on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are in the final segment here on our Thursday afternoon. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Quaker Steak and Lube, great place to come on down and watch the Nittany Lions beat up on the Buckeyes here on Saturday. You can check out the Major League Baseball action tonight. Phillies Game 3 with the Diamondbacks coming up here very shortly. About 20 minutes away here from first pitch. And then the Rangers looking to take a 3-1 lead in their series with the Astros tonight. First pitch in that one, I think, is officially 7:37 tonight. So,
can I take a little bit of a relevant left turn here?
Absolutely.
Quickly.
Please.
Denny's Beer Barrel Pub in Clearfield. You ever been out there?
Yes,
Home of the Giant Burgers?
Yep.
Like Quaker Steak and Lube, a lot of different wing sauce flavors.
Yes.
And I was out there with my wife and one of our tailgating friends a couple of weeks ago, and we always try the different flavors. And we ordered the hot barbecue sauce for the first time. Now, no shade at the good folks at Denny's Beer Barrel Pub. It's a great place. I was underwhelmed. It is tough to hit the right balance of hot and barbecue flavor when you do the hot barbecue sauce. And I have never found a place. My roommate, one of my other college roommates, was from Orchard Park, came there, moved back there. So I've been up and had authentic buffalo wings in Buffalo many times. commercial place or mom and pop, I have never found any place, and I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor, that hits the balance between hot and barbecue better than Quaker Steak does on their hot barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And this is, again, I'm not pointing any fingers here. They are a franchise. This comes down from corporate. The name of that sauce makes it very difficult for me to order it. And nevertheless, I do, because it's so good.
I'm with you.
Here in Happy Valley, every week for this game, I'm not going to say what it's called. It starts with a B.
Yeah.
But at this restaurant, it is called Beaver Stadium Barbecue. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're coming to the Lube and you want to try a good, truly perfectly balanced hot barbecue sauce, just ask for the Beaver Stadium Barbecue. They'll know what's up. They'll understand.
They
what
will
you're saying.
Indeed. Again, if you are wanting to play a round of golf, head on out to the Penn State golf courses. You can hit the links on either their blue or their white championship course. Joe Hughes and the folks at the Penn State golf courses will have another viewing party coming up for the Maryland game, not for the Ohio State. They have a private event going on. It's an NIL event actually on Saturday, so not this week, but they will be doing another viewing event at the 19th hole, which, man, if you have not been there yet, obviously if you're golfing, it's a great place to go before or after, or both, before and after your round of golf. But even if you are not a golfer, you have no interest in golfing, you're never going to golf, I would still strongly recommend you head on over, check out the 19th hole. Also a good place to check out the sports action. And again, they've got just really cool golf gear, Penn State golf gear in the Walker Clubhouse there as well. You can check it all out at the Penn State golf courses, and you'll find them online at pennstategolfcourses.com, and you can give them a call and reserve your tee time at 814-865-GOLF. That's 814-865-GOLF. Real quickly on the Phillies, and then, we'll finish up with Penn State, Ohio State talk. But what the Phillies are doing with the home run is absurd. They are plus 15. We talk about the turnover margin in college football. By the way, Penn State plus 10 on the season to date. I think Ohio State is plus 3 on the season to date. So another area where Penn State going in, you would think, has an advantage. But the Phillies are plus 15 in home runs this postseason. Plus 15 in home runs. I mean, it is hilarious.
It's where skill meets vibes.
Well,
Ironhead. I mean, those guys have the ability, and there is such the best Philadelphia sports teams, the championship Philadelphia sports teams, really have come into sync with the city and the fan base. And I absolutely loved the 08 Phillies. That they were such a fun team to watch, not unlike the 93 team. And I am having as much fun with this group as I did with the 08 group. And I'm just old enough to have remembered kind of the back half of Mike Schmidt's career, although I was pretty young, probably didn't, really understand or appreciate that I was watching maybe the best third baseman in Major League history. But I can remember Mike Schmidt. I've seen some great players. Utley is my all-time favorite Philly, though. And so for me to put these guys up there with that team, with Utley and Howard and Rollins and Cole Hamels, the Charlie Manuel, that really says something. And, look, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And all season long, you could see this coming. A lot of people fixate on how the season started. The one thing with baseball is you can be a different team after the All-Star break. And since the All-Star break, the Phillies have just repeatedly been showing the sporting world, hey, look, we are one of the best, most complete teams in baseball. And, the pitching has been solid, but it doesn't even necessarily need to be because of the way they can hit the ball out of the park. So when you put those two things together, you get the result we've been watching this postseason.
Yep, it has been impressive. There's no question. Our buddy Alan passes along this great quote from Arizona Sports. The quote is this, quote, "The Phillies have the pedigree, the star power, and a lot of facial hair. They look like a beer league softball team that will beat you by mercy roll while rallying around the keg in their dugout before challenging you to a fist fight on your way out to the parking lot, unquote.
I have heard that quote, and I agree with every word of it.
Yep, it is fun to be a Phillies fan, I would imagine. Maybe the Pirates will get there someday. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. All right, let's turn our attention back to Penn State, Ohio State. Our buddy Horace in Pittsburgh. I don't remember the last time I was this nervous and excited about a game. The bad news is if we win, I'll be a nervous wreck for every game, including stupid Rutgers. I won't be nervous for India. I'm just speaking for me. I understand and I hear your sentiment. And Indiana schematically does some things defensively. Like I could see Indiana hanging around for a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half. I'm not worried about
stuff.
Indiana.
I'm watching tape on these kids. We can't take them lightly, and we're going to get licked.
Indiana, do you remember my favorite all-time Paterno was – it had to be one of the MAC teams that Penn State was getting ready to play. And, Paterno would always try to find something positive to say about the opponents. And somewhere, I don't know if we we probably don't have it now. He, before the one game at his Tuesday press conference, talked about how the opponent, and I don't remember for sure, I want to say it was Kent State that they were getting ready to play, but whoever it was, might have been Akron. It's like, listen,
doesn't matter.
When you watch them on tape, they do a great job of breaking the huddle. They are crisp. And I mean, he was completely serious. He's like, that's how you know you have a well-disciplined team is they break the huddle really well. And I mean, completely serious. Pat Bolin,
I think they're going to give Eastern Michigan a tough time.
Pat Bolin and I were back there. We were dying laughing, and we were on competing stations at the time, and we both are like, we have to use that clip. Like, what coach do you know that talks about how the opponent breaks the huddle as what they can praise about the opponent? And we both did. Like for the next 24 hours, you heard on all of the State College radio stations, and Joe Paterno is very impressed by Akron's, by one component of Akron's game. And these guys, they really know how to break the huddle. They're really crisp. Okay. So Indiana does break the huddle very well, I think, this season.
Well,
but I hear you. I get your point.
To relax Horse's nerves, buddy, I will tell you, I get what you're saying, but I just keep going back to, I think the way it's shaken out this year, we have to win both of the big games. And if we don't, I don't think we're getting to the playoff. And if we do, I think you can drop one of those other regular season games because you're going to play, in all likelihood, like a ranked opponent in the Big Ten championship game. And that'll be enough. You'll have wins over two top 5 teams. And the last game you play, through 13th data point, will be a win over a ranked team. So if you stub your toe in, let's just say the Maryland game, which to me looks like the trappiest of the remaining games, then don't worry about it. And if you don't get it done against Michigan, you're probably on the outside looking in.
See, I think Penn State still could get in, even with a loss to one, going 1-1 against them.
You're going to be relying on other teams.
Well, yeah, and the one thing you're relying on is that all of the big three end up with one loss. Like if you beat Ohio State and lose to Michigan, then you need Ohio State to beat Michigan, or if you lose to Ohio State and beat Michigan, you need Michigan to beat Ohio State. That's step one in the process. But actually, if there is that three-way tie in the conference because of Penn State's win over Iowa right now, the Nittany Lions have the inside track at the moment toward being the Big Ten representative of the Big Ten championship game. And I do think with the way it's at least looking like the season is going to play out overall, I do think this year you're going to need to be in the Big Ten championship game and win it.
I think for sure
to be able to be in the playoffs.
It would be a big upset if that were not the case, because you're going to need some things to go wrong for some combination of Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, Washington, and Oklahoma.
Yeah, and you're going to need a couple of those teams to lose. Alabama obviously would have to lose one more, but I mean, you need, Washington or Oklahoma in all likelihood to lose twice. And while I think it is possible and likely maybe even that they could lose once, Washington in particular, just because of the strength of the Pac-12, not because I think Washington isn't an elite team, because I do think they are, but I think their schedule is very challenging. But again, they have to lose twice is the point to allow anybody else.
And you don't want to get into that mess. I know we got a ticking clock here, so I'm going to end this broadcast by quoting my castmate, the great Brandon Noble. This season has been a lot of fun so far. And you know what's fun? Winning is fun.
Winning is
so
fun.
If you want to keep having fun, the easiest way is to just keep winning.
I want to keep having fun.
The only way you can do that is you go to Columbus on Big Noon and you win. So let's keep having fun.
I think they're going to do it. I have it. I'll stick with 27-17, but I really want to go 31-17 for the Nittany Lions. I really do have a very good feeling going in, and I do think it is going to be a lot of fun to watch this game. We will be back on Tuesday to talk about it. The Dear Goon will be back from Columbus, I'm sure, with some stories in tow, and we will break it all down, talk about it, analyze it ad nauseum on Tuesday.
Go Phillies, go
State. Talk to you then. Until Tuesday's show, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the win over the Buckeyes, and for goodness sake, be good and be safe.